Welcome to Revolutionary Motion, where we show you tennis from a different perspective. In today's video, we'll show you the most important piece of advice you could ever use to improve your volleys. And that advice is very simple, it's very basic. Make sure you turn your body sideways when you're hitting your volleys. And this is one of the most common mistakes we see people make when they're approaching the net. They go forward towards the net and they keep their feet pointing to the net while they're hitting their volleys. Now it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal because you feel like, okay, like this I can move in both directions a bit quicker and it's a bit easier to position myself to the ball. And while you might be right with that, I promise you that you missed a huge amount of volleys if you've been using this kind of approach for both of your forehand and backhand volleys. So instead of doing that, you want to make sure that the side of your hip is pointing forward. So if you're hitting a forehand volley, you want to make sure that the side of your left hip is pointing towards the net, so both feet are pointing to the side when you're making contact with the ball. The reason for that is that it makes it way simpler for you to find the ideal contact point. You're going to have way better power transfer, and it's going to be much easier for you to be accurate and precise on your volleys. Now, if you're seeing this from the side, if I'm trying to hit a volley in this position, I will feel very comfortable making contact here, which is roughly, if you can see it from the side, it would be roughly in front of my left chest. That is the ideal contact point for you on your forehand volleys. Most people tend to hit the ball way further in front, and that's mostly due to the fact that they're placing their feet more forward. Like you can imagine, if I'm pointing my feet towards the camera now and I'm trying to hit the ball towards the camera, which obviously I'm not going to hit it, and now I make contact, I will feel very uncomfortable making contact here, which is right next to me. I will feel much more comfortable making contact way further in front and feeling, like I can actually push into the ball. Problem with that is your motion is almost done and you're not going to have very solid contact. And aside from that, you don't have such a stable base. So you want to make sure that you're sideways so you can make contact here and you can push through the contact point because that's roughly the halfway point of your volley motion. So it should be much easier for you to find a lot of power in that position and not lose all the power you generate with your arm because your motion is already done or has just barely started. So you need to make sure that you make contact right in front of your left chest on the forehand side and right in front of your right chest on the backhand side. Because that's the contact point where you have the most amount of power available to you without so much effort. So as you can see here, turning sideways makes it much simpler for you to make sure that that contact point feels comfortable. You can hit through the volley very easily, and it's much simpler for you to keep control over the volley going out to the sides. Because most of you probably notice there's two very common mistakes on your volleys. Number one, you hit it in the net. Obviously that's the same thing as just hitting it short if you get it over the net. And number two, you're missing your volleys out to the side if you're actually trying to finish it off. Okay, the ones that you miss out to the side is usually an over-rotation of the upper body because you're facing forward. If you're trying to step sideways, now guess what? It's tough to hit the ball far to the left, so you're not going to miss it out to the side as much. It's much easier to hit the ball straight forward like that, and if you're trying to go for an angle, your turned hips will keep you from over-rotating and making sure that your volleys don't go too far out to the sides. The problem that I mentioned first, where the ball is going too short, guess what? It's again the same exact thing. If you're pointing forward with your feet and you're hitting the volley far in front, you're more likely to get on top of the ball. You're going to hit it down. So the volley will end up shorter than you want or even in the net. If you're pointing your feet sideways instead, now the contact point is more next to you. It's much easier to give the ball depth and make sure that you don't just hit it straight down into the net in the process. So in conclusion, learn to step sideways on both forehand and backhand volleys. On the forehand volley with your left foot on the last step, on your backhand volley with the right foot on your last step, bringing the hip sideways, meaning the hip gets pointed towards the net, so it's much easier for you to control your volleys, hit them harder, and be accurate in the process.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.